All right, guys, we'll get started with Coach Holgorsen this morning. Thanks for joining us. One quick note to pass along. Next week's game against Tulsa just announced the 6-day option, so we'll get a kickoff time on Saturday night for you guys and pass it along. Just wanted to make mention of that before we got going. So once you guys are ready, we'll take questions for Coach. Please raise your right hand on the chat tool or on the right-hand side, and we'll get started. All right, first question goes to Andy Yanez from the Daily Cougar. Andy, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Dana, good morning. My question for you is really with these last three games coming down the stretch being against really tough opponents, and I know against South Florida you guys were able to play a lot more young guys than you usually would. Really, what kind of opportunity do you think this can be for those young guys playing against high-quality opponents, and what you can see, what kind of experience this can get them?
Well, we're gonna just play. We're gonna play who's available. I don't know how many young guys you're referring to. We played more guys in that game than we have. I don't know if that's gonna be important or not. It depends on 15 or so of the guys that have played this year that weren't able to play in that game. How many of those guys we got back? I'd rather play guys that have been in the program for 3 and 4 years. So it's a daily conversation, and you know, we had a couple of guys back last night that didn't play. Hopefully that trend continues and we get to play the people that are here on scholarship that have played for years. So that's what we're going to need to have happen in order to play good teams, which, you know, SMU's a really good team, have been for a couple of years, and we've played good teams this year as well. So not really looking past anything other than SMU right now. Not worried about the other ones. The only ones that counts is SMU this week.
All right, next question goes to Mark Berman, Fox 26. Mark.
Dana, what stands out to you about when you look at SMU on tape on both sides of the ball?
They play hard. They're in every game. They've played a lot of ball. They've played 9 games. You know, they've remained relatively healthy too. I know people make a big deal about, you know, Roberson, who is one of the top receivers in the country, was out after a couple of games. Unfortunate, you know, obviously have a history with him, recruited him at West Virginia, turned into a great player. It's unfortunate that he got hurt and out for the season. And, you know, another receiver got knocked out at it. Who I don't know if 5 is going to play or not. None of my business. But other than that, they've remained relatively healthy. I mean, if you look at their defense, it's been pretty much the same guys, you know, each and every week. And then, you know, from an offensive perspective, you know, they've you know, other couple of guys on offense, they've remained relatively healthy. It starts with their quarterback on offense. Obviously, Michelle, it seems like he's been around here forever. I've had to coach against him for I think 4 years now. You know, so know a good bit about him. But they got you know, their back is really good, Bentley. You know, and they lose receivers and they just plug other ones in there and they play pretty good. So, you know, it's going to be a challenge for us defensively. They can make plays, and it all starts with their quarterback.
Dana, can you give us an update on how Marquez is doing?
Day to day.
All right, next question goes to Joseph Duarte. Go ahead, JD.
Hey, good morning, Dana. I was curious on Marcus Jones. You know, he was a guy that, you know, even before he stepped on the field last year, you were pretty high on. Just him as a return guy, what makes him stand out from possibly others? And just curious, is there a backstory on how you guys were able to land a guy like him in terms of, you know, connections or anything?
Yeah, Alabama connections with Zach Etheridge, you know, and, you know, I put you on high alert that Marcus was pretty special. He's one of those guys last year that got tired of saying we got guys that are in the program that are going to make a difference at some point. Just be patient. You know, those guys who coached against him at Arkansas State too, Joe and Brian coached against him when they were at Arkansas State and Marcus was at Troy. I think he returned a couple for a touchdown against him or whatever. So we knew he had the capabilities of being able to do it. It's getting better. He hadn't been out there on the field for a while. It looked pretty good early, but he made a couple of mistakes because I think he was probably trying so hard because he hadn't been out there in a while. But what he did last week's the best I've ever seen. I mean, just the way he can field it clean, the way he can set things up, the quickness with which he makes people miss and how he sets up blocks. And then there's the confidence level of the other 10 people know that he's really good and it's only a matter of time. And so the other 10 are starting to set blocks up and play with a little better effort and finish things off the right way without getting flagged, because that's a pretty chaotic play. And there's usually a lot of penalties on that. So it's fun to watch last week. I think we're going to get to a point where people will start spraying the ball everywhere. So we'll have a plan for that as well.
You got questions for Coach? Please raise your right hand. JD, back to you.
Also, another guy, Dana, Christian Trahan. People look at that position and at least about what their role is. But I mean, he's a guy that you put him in and he pretty much does anything you ask. Is there, anyone you have had in the previous stops that he compares to, or just how special he is, the ability to go out there and do so many different things for you?
Christian's coming into his own. Hardworking, tough, smart. Man, he's fun to coach just because whatever we ask him to do, he can do. He's very versatile at that tight end role. I'm having some fun with him right now. He's watched a lot of the guy that I had at West Virginia my last 3 years, Wesco. Wesco actually texted me Friday night and told me to quit messing around and get 85 the ball. Christian has watched a lot of him his last couple years at West Virginia, which Wesco got to a point where he was about 270 and could just really thump people, which is why he got drafted and he's played every game for the Jets since. Christian can do that. He doesn't have the mass, which is why he's such a good receiver. He's pretty light on his feet. Finally got smart and isolated him a couple of times and threw him a fade in the back of the end zone, which was a phenomenal catch. But he's just versatile and can do about anything. And the more he grows into his body, the more he's going to be able to thump people. He can hold his own right now, regardless if he's in the backfield or if he's an attached tight end. But then he's got, he's just so daggum smart that I can move him around and do a whole bunch of different things for him. So it's fun right now. It's going to continue to get better. We're going to continue to use him as much as we can without wearing him out. And he's just going to keep getting better and better.
That's right.
All right. Next question goes to Rob Sellers, 247 Sports. Rob.
Thanks, Tyler. Coach, you talked a little bit post-game about James Fulbright and his, kind of being like a team favorite or whatever. Can you give a little backstory on what it is that makes him? I know he's a walk-on. You guys maybe even offered like a preferred walk-on situation. But when you guys got him out of Waco, he was very productive in high school. What makes him popular on the team?
Just his work ethic. He's the first one in the building. He's the last one to leave. He lives in the weight room. He was a big power lifter out of high school. He doesn't really need to live in the weight room because he's done it his whole life. It just never says anything and just works his tail off and is overachieving in everything that he does. I played college ball with his dad. So I've known about James for quite a while. And, when I got the job here, his dad called and I said I'd love for him to be on the team. So we got him down here on the team. And, he's not very big. He's not very tall. I shouldn't say he's not big. He is big. He's thick. He's thick now. I mean, he's strong. He's one of the strongest kids that we have on the team. But just the overachieving aspect of his work ethic, the team loves him. So, just through playing scout team, everybody's like, man, he's so good on scout team. Try to play him. And we started using him on special teams a little bit, and he's making plays. And every time we hand it to him, he falls forward for about 10 yards. So, it's one of those feel-good stories because the team likes him so much and respects his work ethic, and is honestly the hardest working kid on the team. So was happy to see him, make a play that affected the game, and and the team. Never seen anything like it. On the sidelines, the amount of excitement that was there for him, and in the locker room as well.
All right, swinging it back around to Mark Berman. Go ahead, Mark.
Dana, what is that like, having the son of a guy you played with playing for you?
Man, it feels old. I mean, I got my own kid on the team, and I ignore him. So when one of my buddy's kids is out there making plays, I mean, it's pretty cool. It's probably one of those things where we look back on after it's all said and done and say, man, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm happy for all my guys when they make plays and have fun. And that was a game that we kind of needed because we just needed to be able to have a little bit of fun with it. And obviously did that. Should give us some confidence to be able to have a little bit more fun here this Saturday.
Does your son ignore you back?
Yes.
Speaking of quarterbacks, what have you thought about the growth of Clayton back there?
had his best game, I think. Our pass game in the running game, we had his best game. He's never had 100 yards. I looked at it. I had one time in 16, my quarterback went for about 150. Is against Kansas. But 120 on 10 carries with the 12-yard average is pretty spectacular. So him in the running game was outstanding, and we schemed some things up and looked really good. He was very patient. His position where he needed to be was really good. His decision-making was really good. His patience running and protecting himself was really good as well. Pass game was just okay, but I think that has a little bit more to do with, 3 starting receivers were out. That hurts everything. When 3 starting receivers are out, the timing is something that's concerning. So we need to get some of those guys back, improve the timing. We had too many drops. I think we had 6 drops in the game. That's not on Clayton. And just missing guys. So the focal point was the run game, which we needed to get that going. Between Mulba and Chandler and Keelan, I thought they ran hard. Need to get the passing game going. I think Clayton's ready to take that next step, but he needs guys to throw to too.
How much does that help you when other teams like SMU, they're watching Clayton running and they're trying to game plan for all that? How much does that help you going forward in terms of what they're thinking and trying to defend against you?
It's going to change things. You can't just play man coverage and ignore the quarterback. I mean, he's proven to where he can get out on you. So whether it's scheme in the running game or whether it's man coverage and lanes in the pass game, you got to keep your eye on him, and that's going to open things up in the passing game, and that's going to open up things in the running game.
All right, next question goes to Andy Yanez from Daily Cougar. Andy.
Yeah, Dana, you just kind of touched on it right now, but a couple of weeks ago you said that these games are going to be a good opportunity for Bryson Smith to kind of step up and show you guys what he's about. What have you seen from him the past 2 games, and really just describe his performance the past 2 games?
Getting better. He made a pretty awesome play there, the third play of the game, and got in the end zone. I've seen him do that in practice. I just need to keep seeing him do that in the game. He's a guy that we need to keep focusing on and keep repping. And he's a guy that's proven to be in the right spot at the right time, and we need to keep focusing on trying to get him the ball. His completion percentage is really high for his career as well. That throw back to Toon was on point. Not surprising. I've seen him do it a lot. So we can do a trick or two with him. We can toss him the ball, in the backfield on some fly sweeps, which will open some things up. Based on doing that with him is why Keith Corbin scored a touchdown on a wheel route. So he's got a roll. It's going to keep getting bigger as long as he keeps focusing on working hard throughout the course of the week, which he's been great with. And we need to keep focusing on trying to get him the ball.
Got time for 2 more. We'll go to JD and then back to Randy McAvoy. Joseph?
And I'm hoping I don't forget a position group, but specifically the last few weeks, running back, linebackers, and receivers, you've really had to go deep into the roster to fill some spots. I know that's 2020 and no excuses, but how challenging is that, and does it look any better this week at those three positions?
That's day to day. I know you want me to give you better answers than that, but it's day to day. Mulva continues to struggle with his lower body. I feel terrible for him. He's trying. He went out there and he wanted to have him get a game. I was going to get him the ball as much as he can handle. I was happy that Chandler Smith came in and gave us a spark. That's the best I've seen him play. Happy with Keelan Walker's progressive nature, which he's attacking every week. Hope to get Kyle Porter back this week, who's a team captain. It means a lot to us. So it's nothing new to me at the running back spot. I mean, those guys, you need 5, and you're gonna churn through them. That's the most demanding position physically that exists. Never dealt with this at receiver. We were down to. We were down to 3. We were down to. Well, for the 4 positions, we were down to 4 scholarship players. And so we were playing with some guys that Dylan Robinson got a snap or 2. Segovia got a snap or 2, but we need to get some of those guys back. I've never dealt with that. You can't be good in the passing game by putting people out there that our quarterback's never thrown to. And then linebacker just took that hit. Grant's holding it together. Manny Nunnery went in there and played his tail off. That was good to see. Hopefully get a couple of guys back, and you just got to deal with it. Whether you put new guys in there or having guys change positions or whatever. We moved Deontay down to an outside linebacker spot. He helped out. He played good, because Giovanni was out. So it is what it is, man. It's gonna be interesting to see who I have for practice tomorrow morning.
All right, last one is Randy McAvoy, KPRC. Go ahead, Randy.
Hey, Dana, follow up if you don't mind on Tune. You just were talking about him. Everybody sees him on game day. Can you just describe what he's like as a practice player and in the film room? A lot of these guys love to spend time and just live in that film room. What's his approach like? Away from game day.
He's pretty tuned in. He's got kind of a coach's kid mentality. He's always there. Him and Logan are always up here. I mean, they're in the offices nonstop. They're watching video. They got a room downstairs that they spend a lot of time in. Just he's here to play football. I mean, he's just a motivated, smart guy that understands a lot, is gaining confidence, and just now starting to come into his own. Very motivated, very confident. He's a joy to coach. He does not get rattled. I can lose my mind at times, and it doesn't bother him. He's even keel, good or bad. He's kind of the same. That's maybe the best quality you can have as a quarterback. So, excited about where he's at with his progress, and just needs to keep coming along. Can't afford to have a bad game. At that spot, you have a bad game, we lose, and he's coming into his own to where he understands that.
I have one other question if I have time real quick. There's been another postponement today. I think the A&M Ole Miss game was postponed already. How concerned are you just in general now with, especially the last couple of weeks, so many games, have been affected specifically the last 2 weeks? And I know you're just worried about your program, but what are you seeing right now that may concern you with the big picture rest of the season?
A lot. Ours was close last week. Ours was close. I mean, South Florida was 1 or 2 away from being canceled. We were 1 or 2 away. We just talked about those 3 rooms we have. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's injuries or COVID or whatever it is, when you combine them, it's the same thing. They're either available or they're not. I mean, I'm not going to put 2 running backs at linebacker and go try to beat a really good football team. That's just not fair, which is why 2 weeks ago, 10 games got canceled. Last week, 15 games got canceled. This week, there's going to be, it wouldn't surprise me if it's double digits again. told our team we're fortunate and we keep doing the right things and we're doing things right to the point to where we get a place. So don't take that lightly and take advantage of that and continue to do things right. This thing's going to be over pretty quick. It's going to be over in the next couple, 3, 4, 5 weeks. So just keep doing things right. Stay in your bubble and be fortunate that we get a play. And hopefully this Saturday we get a play. That's pretty much the bottom line.
Thanks, Danny.
All right, everybody. Thanks for jumping on today. We'll see you back here Wednesday at 1:30 for player availability. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.